Hello, football fans. A little Miami Dolphin Frigid trip to Green Bay stream on the Spunky Spectrum Sports and the Driving to the Top Productions. My friend George, please subscribe, like, share Driving to the Top Productions and the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Also, check me out hosting the Big D podcast, Spotify, and Apple. So, joining me on this pre-Thanksgiving day stream, George Reed, whether we're chasing hurricanes or watching football, you're always available, George.
Absolutely. I try not to chase the hurricanes. Living down here in Florida, it's a natural part of our life down here. We expect it every year. Two or three named storms to come through. Hopefully, when they hit, they're not bad. I feel bad for those who lose their power and lose their all their belongings. Like, it's just tragic, but it's part of life when you live in the Sunshine State. Like, we can't have great weather and good football teams, and we get the natural disasters. You come to Florida, you know what you're getting. You know it. There's going to be hurricanes. It sucks, yes, but it's also a part of life.
Yeah, and how much of Milton did you guys get?
Me personally, not a whole lot. So Milton landed over by St. Petersburg, Tampa. From where I'm at, I'm literally on the other side of the state. So I'm over. If you're looking at the state of Florida, I'm over by Kennedy Space Center. So I'm on the opposite side of the state. I'm on the opposite side of where it landed. By the time it got over to me, it was like a category 1, maybe a category 2, but most likely it was like, if I remember correctly, it was like a category 1, which it did nothing over here. We never lost power. Very fortunate about that. Didn't have a whole lot of damage. My neighbor, he had a tree that was uprooted and fell on our fence. Um, but other than that, like, that was all the damage that we suffered, was a tree falling on a fence, and that was it.
Yeah, we never lost power here, thankfully. Although it seemed like every 2 minutes I looked at the power walls of my area, and I'm like, it's coming here eventually. You could see the lights flickering. I'm like, we're gonna lose power eventually. It never
It's
happened.
it's funny because, like, typically on our afternoon thunderstorms, like, our power will flicker. We've lost it before just on a normal storm. And then typically when hurricanes do come through, we do lose power for a day. The most I've been here is up to a week. So what we did is we invested in a whole house generator. So I've got a generator that will run my entire house, air conditioning, everything. It was one of the best investments I've had. And I have not had the opportunity to use it, which I'm absolutely fine with. I don't ever want to have to use that thing. But if I need to use it, I've got a generator that can run the whole house. So I'm not overly concerned. It's a gas generator. I've got a 100-gallon tank in the ground that's dedicated directly and specifically for the generator. So I'm not overly worried if we do lose power. I'll still be able to run my fridge, my air conditioning, my lighting. I'll have all of that. So I'm not overly concerned. But at the same time, I hope I never have to use it.
You have a Generac?
It's not a Generac. It's an off-brand. I'd have to go look at it and tell you what the brand of it is. But it's not the brand is not a Generac, but it is a whole house generator. Yes.
Does it power your Wi-Fi though?
Well, if if Spectrum doesn't have cable down or the Wi-Fi down, yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that's like I said, I won't lose any power if, as long as Spectrum Internet is still up and running. I'll have Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I hope not to figure out that issue in the next storm, but
Yeah, I don't like I said, I don't ever want to have to use it, but if I have to use it, at least it's there.
well, well, the good news, at least the Miami Dolphins aren't going to be dealing with hurricanes tomorrow night. They'll just be dealing with the frozen tundra of
The
Lambeau
frozen tundra of Green Bay.
Field. So, I mean, Miami's going into this game red hot, winners of 3 in a row, beat the
Yep.
Rams, Patriots, and Raiders. So, what's changed for Miami? Obviously, Tua's return and stuff, but Miami's looked different the last couple weeks.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it. We played three of the best teams in the NFL in consecutive weeks: the Rams, the Patriots, and the Raiders. Those are the upper echelon, elite tiers of NFL teams right now.
You mean
So
2001, right?
yeah, oh, wait a second. It's not 2001? Ah, crap. No, but that's the reason why we've looked a lot better. Is because we played really bad teams. The Rams are a decent team, but they're not very good. I would say they're about an average team. The Raiders and the Patriots, they stink. They're bad teams. Those are two really, really bad teams. So playing really bad teams, especially when your team is talented as Miami, like on paper, they're a very talented team. So when you play a really bad team, you're going to look good. And that's what they've done, which is historically what Miami has done under Mike McDaniel. Really bad teams have made Miami look really, really good. And really good teams have made Miami look really, really bad under Mike McDaniel. So I'm very intrigued, excuse me, about the game tomorrow evening against Green Bay because there's a lot of narratives going into this game. We were talking before we went live. We were talking about the cold, how Miami has done historically in cold, specifically Tua Tagovailoa. It's not very good. There's a narrative that Miami can't beat good teams. So there's that narrative. And there's narratives we can't win on the road. So there's a lot of narratives going into this game that Miami is going to have the opportunity in a prime time setting on Thanksgiving evening to squash. But I don't know if they will or not.
Is it more of a physical and mental issue that Miami, especially now with two under center, can't win a cold game, whether it be Buffalo, Green Bay, Foxborough, whatever?
Well, we've played Buffalo really close a couple of times in Buffalo. We've played them pretty tough. Ultimately, we lost, but we always lose to Buffalo, so there's that. But the problem is it starts with the quarterback, in my opinion. Tua, as we mentioned, he's from Hawaii. That's not historically not a cold state. He went to Alabama, historically not a cold state. He plays in Florida, historically not a cold state. And the ball, in my opinion, it's different when you're playing in the cold. It feels different. It throws different. The cold can get into your head and make your timing off. And this is a very much timing-based offense. So there's a mental aspect of it as well. Historically, in games that the weather is 40 degrees or less with Tua Tagovailoa, he's 0-7. He's never won a game that's been 40 degrees or lower. We all remember last year when Miami went to Kansas City. It was, -4 at kickoff. And I can go ahead and give you all the excuses. Miami was banged up. There were missing players. They had just signed a bunch of defensive guys who were sitting on the couch a week before to come in and actually start for them. But it doesn't matter because they look like garbage on both sides of the ball. So it's just
Miami looked like frozen popsicles.
They were. Listen, I'm from Massachusetts. Okay, I was born and raised in Massachusetts. Moving from Massachusetts to Florida, like you get accustomed to this Florida weather, and it changes you. Your blood thins a little bit. It's not nearly as thick. Your skin's a little softer. You get all that vitamin C from the sun on you. You're used to the heat, and then you go play outdoors in -40 degrees, or not -40 degrees. I don't think they would actually play a game in -40, to be honestly. But 40 degrees or lower, like it feels different. Like you can't think straight. You're constantly cold. Yeah, you're trying, you put all these layers on to stay warm. You've got heaters and warmers, but that's not going to keep you very warm. And then when you get hit, it hurts a little bit more. It stings a little bit more. So it's a different type of beast. And I wish I could remember the name of the Miami player who said it, and I don't agree with him completely, but I see what he was saying when he said that the Dolphins last year were a soft team. And they are. Historically, they under Coach Mike McDaniel, and really it dates back to previous coaches before him. They are a finesse team. They're not a smash mouth team. Now, you can blame it on the weather. You can blame it on where they play. You can blame it on a lot of different things, but Miami has not been a smash mouth team since the 90s, honestly. Like the 2000s, 2010s, they were not smash mouth teams. 2020s, we've not been a smash mouth team. We are a very much currently a finesse team.
Even
Now,
Dan Marino's teams were not very physical. I mean, look at the '85 AFC Championship when New England ran it down your throats.
Yep. It's the history of the Miami Dolphins. They're not historically known as a smash mouth team, and until we go out and prove that we can be a smash mouth team, we're going to have all these labels on us, and they're rightfully so. To be honest, they deserve it because they've earned it.
Well, is it just simply a product of location? Because when the Dolphins play a team down here in September when it's 157 degrees, is the other way around, right?
Yeah, I mean that's because it's listen. They're called home field advantages for a reason. Your Jacksonville Jaguars, they have a little bit of a home field advantage as well. It's not nearly as much as the Dolphins or Tampa because we're both locations are further south than Jacksonville. But if you take a team who is not used to playing in this Florida humidity and this heat, like it gets you. Then you look at the Dolphin Stadium, the way it's designed. You know, you're sitting as a player, you're opposing player rather. You're sitting on the opposing sideline. You're sitting in the sun all day long. You're just out there baking. You can bring a tent and you can bring your own covering. To get a little bit of shade, but for the most part, like you're sitting in the sun, and it's a huge home field advantage for the Dolphins. That's why I think the NFL didn't schedule the only home game Miami has had, like the first 10 weeks, that was like a 1:00 kickoff where it would actually be warm, was week 1 against the Jaguars. And what did they do? They brought a team from Florida. Like that's not really that much of a home field advantage.
They could have given you the Bills first and then Jacksonville week 2.
They could have, but no. And I think that is because you had teams and players and fans complaining about how the Miami has set up the stadium, the design of it to where the opposing team is sitting in the heat the whole time. And the NFL wanted to take that advantage away from the Dolphins.
I mean, I remember in 2018, the Jags played New England Patriots week 2, and I don't think I've ever been more confident for a football game in my life. I'm like, Jackson's going to kill New England. And Tom Brady and the Patriots melted.
I'm always a fan when talking about the Patriots and Tom Brady and them losing and him melting. That I will never not be a fan of.
And by the way,
and like I said earlier, I'm from New England. I'm from Massachusetts. I can't stand the Patriots.
And by the way, our teams are combined 3-0 against New England, so that's the one thing we can agree on.
Well, and honestly, I heard after this week, Robert Kraft was actually reaching out to Tua to see if he would be interested in selling his ownership stakes of the New England Patriots, because Tua Tagovailoa in his career has never lost to the New England Patriots. He's never lost to the Patriots. He's never lost to the Jets. He's undefeated against both of those teams. The only team Tua Tagovailoa has lost to in division is the Bills, and we can't beat the Bills. Like we're like, I think it was like 2-9 or 2-10 career against the Bills. It's really, really bad.
Well, speaking of Tua, I mean, Tua's returns made a difference. I mean, what have you seen with Tua since he's come back from his umpteen concussion?
Well, the biggest thing is, excuse me, the biggest thing, honestly, is something Miami has been missing really the last 2 years, and that is a legitimate third weapon in the passing game that is not coming out of the backfield. They signed Odell Beckham thinking he would be the third wide receiver that would make a difference, and he really has not made much of a difference at all. He's missed most of the year. He missed all preseason. He missed most of training camp. Missed the first half start of the year. So there's a learning curve for this offense, and I don't think he's got the complete grip on this offense. But the guy who has emerged, somebody we were talking about earlier, is Jonnu Smith. This is the first time in Mike McDaniel's head coaching career with the Dolphins that he's got 3 pass catchers that are not running backs over 500 yards on the season. The Dolphins have never had 3 wide receivers / tight ends finish the season with more than 500 yards, and we've already got that with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and Jonnu Smith. In fact, this is the first time that they've had 3 pass catching options on the offense, that, again, not including running backs, just wide receivers, tight ends, that have over 40 receptions. So they've needed somebody to emerge as that third option in the offense. And it turned out that third option was somebody I was really excited about when they signed in this offseason, and that was tight end Jonnu Smith. He is playing absolutely phenomenal for the Dolphins. He's giving them a big body and a presence on the offense that really they haven't had in a long time. Again, they wanted Odell Beckham to be that. They drafted Eric Uzukama to be that. They traded for Chase Claypool for him to be that. Like, they've tried to address a big body pass catcher to no avail. They brought in, I think it's Johnny Fortson, I think is who they brought in from this offseason to play tight end as well, who's a big body guy. He's athletic. He's young. It didn't work out with him, but it's just that is a position and an architect type for a skill position player that the Dolphins have just not had.
Yeah, I mean, John, I feel like there was some place that just tight end, you know what? Miami's been one of those places. I mean, I didn't even know what Mike Gesicki was doing last year. But John Smith was definitely...
He was doing nothing. I can tell you. He's done absolutely nothing since leaving Miami.
Well, Johnny Smith's made a difference. I mean, it was a late round value for me, especially in my Dolphin stacks, because you could get him and just know he'll have some weeks where he'll score 2 touchdowns, or he'll put up big numbers.
Yeah, he's been playing phenomenal. Again, you look at the Dolphins, our wide receivers are 6 feet and under. Like, they drafted 2 wide receivers that were both under 6 feet. So, I mean, we've been prioritizing speed, and we have not prioritized anything of height. Jonnu Smith is 6'3", so that is, the biggest pass catching option the Dolphins currently have on the roster. And not only is he big, he's fast. That's something else that we've been able to see is, you've got all the speed on the outside with Waddle and Hill. Odell Beckham, as much as, he hasn't really adjusted much to this offense. And I think the timing with him and Tua is just not there right now. And I'm not even sure it'll be there at all this season, to be honest. But Jonnu Smith is also, fast. So we got somebody who's fast and big, which is something we have not had historically.
I think who else has made a difference is Devon H. I mean, that guy is so fast.
Oh, he's listen. It's a track team down here in Miami. Okay, I mentioned it earlier. This team is not a smash mouth team. It's a finesse team. You've got guys who are absolutely smash mouth players. Javon Holland, I would say, is a smash mouth player at the safety. Even though he's playing like dog poop. Jordan Poyer, the other safety, he's a smash mouth type style player coming from Buffalo. He could play in the cold. He's done it almost his whole career. Calais Campbell's playing for his age and what he's brought to the Dolphins. He is a smash mouth style player. Ain't nobody gonna call Calais Campbell soft. I don't care who you are. That dude's 6'9". He will yoke you.
I'm not going to call Calais Campbell soft. He's
no. Listen, I'm 6'3". I look up to that man. I'm not calling him soft. Absolutely not. He will slam me. But it's a finesse team, and for the most part, we've got some dogs, but for the most part, it's a finesse team. And like I said earlier, we're beating up on bad teams. We dug ourselves in a hole. We've seen the importance of what Tua Tagovailoa is to this team, though. We talked about narratives earlier. One of the narratives the Dolphins have killed this year is any quarterback can come in and run this system, because that is absolutely not true. When Tua's back there, this is a completely different team. So we've seen how valuable he is and how good he actually is as an NFL quarterback.
And when a backup quarterback's in this offense, Miami can't put up a point.
No. Listen, they brought in the backup last week. He fumbled the handoff. All he had to do was turn around and hand the ball to the running back, and he fumbled that. And I'm talking Skylar Thompson here. This is the guy the Miami Dolphins drafted. He's been in the system. This is, I believe, his third year in this system, and he couldn't even turn around and hand the ball off to the quarterback or to the running back. Like, what are we doing here? So I was actually hoping the Dolphins signed Daniel Jones. I was hoping he would come to Miami to be our backup quarterback, because let's face it, he's not going to be usurping Tua Tagovailoa on the depth chart. But if Miami does have playoff aspirations, everything literally hinges on the quarterback position. And while I don't think Daniel Jones is the world's greatest quarterback, if there's a team in the NFL that needs to invest in a backup quarterback who is a very competent backup quarterback, it would be Miami, because of the fragility we have at our starting quarterback. And I would absolutely love to see Daniel Jones in Miami. Fortunately, he signed with Minnesota, which I don't hate him for doing that. Like, that's a good team. He wants to, do something he's never done. Have an opportunity to win a playoff game. I don't think he's going to go in there and start over Sam Darnold, but
wait a minute. Didn't Daniel Jones beat the Minnesota Vikings 2 years ago?
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to Google that. I don't think so. He might have.
That was the game Kirk Cousins threw the check down on 4th and 8, 4th and 9 to Hawkinson.
You are right. You are absolutely right. He did. Yep. He's come full circle with Minnesota. He's going to go out and beat them. Now he's going to go out and join them.
And Kevin O'Connor remembered that. He's like, plus, Sam Darnold can get banged up. Daniel Jones. I'll be the backup in Minnesota with Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison, Aaron Jones. Not the worst place for me.
Yeah, and he's got a good defense. Like, Brian Flores is up there. I don't care for Brian Flores as a head coach. I think he was a terrible head coach for the Dolphins. I think his interpersonal skills with the players was abysmal. But I will never say he's not a great defensive coordinator. Like, there's some people, in my opinion, they're not meant to be head coaches, but they can be absolutely phenomenal, elite coordinators on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And I think Brian Flores fits it. I think he is an absolutely amazing, phenomenal defensive coordinator.
Vic Fangio? Maybe not in Miami, but I'm not sure how much he wanted to be there.
I don't think he ever really wanted to come to Miami, to be honest. I think he came to Miami and learned real quick, this is not where I want to be. His heart was never truly in it. He coached. He looked at the roster. He looked at what we had on defense, and he said, "Yeah, I can get away with coaching this. This is a good defense right here. I can coach that," and he did. He did a really good job coaching that defense. But his heart, I don't think, was ever really in it. I think he always wanted to go back to Philadelphia, and that's where his wife was. That's where his kids are from. That's where his family was. He never really wanted to be in Miami to begin with, but he did take the job. And I think a lot of that had to do with the amount of money they paid him. They made him the highest defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL. And it was a very talented defense, which made his job a lot easier.
Although it didn't help that Miami's whole defensive line fell by the wayside, but that's a story here.
Oh our defensive line was on the injured reserve. We done lost everybody. Like I said earlier, we were signing when we played Kansas City last year. We were signing guys that were on the couch the week before. Like these guys hadn't played a snap of football all year, and hey, come play for Miami, not only will we play you, we will start you.
Well, one of my favorite defensive rookies to watch lately has been Chop Robinson, and he's been
Yeah.
chopping up some linemen lately.
That dude is he's going to be really, really good. I wasn't a big fan of Miami drafting him. I understand the way Chris Greer thinks. He prioritizes certain positions on the field. Give me a second. He prioritizes certain positions on the field. One of them is edge, and I didn't like the Chop Robinson pick. I personally wanted Graham Barton, the guard / tackle that ended up going over to Tampa. That's who I would have drafted personally, just because I think Miami needed a lot more offensive line help. But I got to admit, Chop Robinson, he is playing very, very well right now. His first step is absolutely explosive. And if he can get better at tackling in the run game, that guy is going to be a problem for many, many years.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, who knows if Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips ever get healthy?
Sorry, I went to cough and I accidentally hit the stop camera instead of the mute button. No, Jalen Phillips, oh God, feel so bad for that kid. He worked his tail off to come back from that Achilles injury, and to go down to an ACL like that was. I feel bad for the kid. He is such a good kid. He's great for the community. He's a really, really good football player. But injuries the last 2 years have just taken a toll on him. You can't help but feel bad for him. And Bradley Chubb, Coach McDaniel said earlier today they expect him back this season. He's right on schedule, but they won't say what the schedule is. So he's probably a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks away from coming back. But I think he will be back this season for sure. And I hope he can play close to the level he was playing at last year, because last year he was playing absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that way you have multiple pass rushers, because seemingly all these teams have multiple pass rushers, whether it be inside or out.
Yeah, if Bradley Chubb can come back, the Dolphins will have Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, potentially Shaquille Barrett. I'm not really sure what's going on with him. He retired at the beginning of the year. Now he wants to come back and play. Rumor is he wants to come back, but he wants to come back and play for Tampa. But he did file his paperwork with the NFL coming out of retirement. So, but the Miami Dolphins still own the rights to his contract. So I'm not sure really what's going on there. And then we got Emmanuel Ogbah, who the Dolphins brought back, who's been playing pretty decent for us as well. So potentially we could have a really good rotation on the edge between those four players. But I'm not sure what's going on with Shaq Barrett. The Dolphins have until next week to to decide what to do with him. If they have until next Tuesday, really, to bring him back on the roster or not. They can cut him. They can waive him. They can trade him.
Well, they can't trade him because it's
past trade deadline. You're right. So they can cut him or waive him, whichever. Or they can bring him up onto the 53-man roster, or they can even put him on the practice squad. But if they put him on the practice squad, he can get poached to another team. So the timing by Shaq Barrett is also a little bit weird, because in order for him to get credit for this NFL season, he has to be on the roster for 6 games. Last I checked, there's only 6 games left in this season. Otherwise, he doesn't get credit for this NFL season. So if the Dolphins wanted to do right by him, they could either release him outright and let him sign with another team before they play their game, or they could bring him up on the 53-man roster and then waive him or keep him. They have options. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but in order for him to get credit for the 2024-2025 NFL season, he has to be on an active NFL roster for 6 games, and there's only 6 games left 6 games left in the season. So,
And I don't think the Dolphins are bringing it in Shaquille Barrett tomorrow night, right?
I would not count on it at all. I don't know. I would say absolutely not. You will not see Shaquille Barrett on the field tomorrow night. That will not happen.
I think there's a better chance of Jason Taylor on the field than Shaq Barrett.
Listen, I'm down with bringing in Jason Taylor. Go get Cam Wake. He's in amazing physical condition right now. Go get Cam Wake. Let's get Zach Taylor or Zach Thomas rather. Let's run it all back. Let's get all the Dolphin greats and just run it back with all the Dolphin greats.
Didn't you bring back Cam Wake for the playoff game last year?
No, they did not bring Cam Wake back for the playoff.
I thought you brought somebody. You brought all the old pass rushers back.
They were sitting on their couch, but the Dolphins were in need. I was joking on Twitter. Yeah, it was like last month. And I was joking with Dolphins legend Richmond Webb, old offensive lineman for the Dolphins. He blocked for Dan Marino. There's actually a movement to try to get him into the Hall of Fame this year. And I was joking with Richmond Webb that, hey, we need you to put the pads on and go out there and protect Tua like you did Dan Marino. And he's like, no way, man. My time is long gone. This is a young man's game. I am not a young man. I absolutely cannot do that no more. But that's how desperate the Dolphins are, or they were for offensive linemen. Like it's just, in my opinion, we can never have enough of those.
Yeah, especially now. Although this year it's weird. I mean, Karen Olmstead's usually missing 3 or 4 games with nicks and crannies. I think this will be 12 out of 12 for him.
Well, he was limited at practice today. And he's on the injury list. He's questionable to play. I think he does play. But yeah, he historically you can count Teron Armstead to miss, 3 or 4 games. This is his final season, I believe, in the NFL. I think he said he's retiring after this year, which is in large part why the Dolphins went out and drafted tackle Patrick Paul in the second round is to eventually replace Teron Armstead. But it would be nice to be able to have him available for every single game this year. That would be something that he hasn't done in his career in a while. He hasn't played a whole season, start and finish every game in a while. So it would be nice to see. I was a little bit concerned to see him on their injury report because the Dolphins pulled him last week against the Patriots after we get up by 30. What was it, like 34 points or 31 points, something like that. I forget when they pulled him, but they pulled him specifically to avoid him getting injured. And there was no reports that he got injured during the game. So typically there's no practice Monday. Tuesday is a vet rest day. Typically Teron Armstead gets that vet rest day. Wednesday, he's always been limited in practice, which is what he was today. But they got him as questionable going into the game tomorrow night. And I think that's a very important piece to what the Dolphins are going to need to win tomorrow night is they're going to need Teron Armstead.
Yeah, I would have to think Olmstead plays to just manage him because, short weeks never fun for your linemen.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it was a lot of load management, but it's something to keep an eye on between for the Dolphins and going into this game against the Packers. Like we cannot afford to be losing our best offensive linemen on a short week, going to Green Bay in prime time, essentially fighting for your playoff life.
So heading to Green Bay, what do you think will be the biggest challenge for the Dolphins going up at trying to stop Jordan Love and Green Bay's offense? Because honestly, Josh Jacobs might not run by anybody, but he'll run through you.
Yep. I think there's going to be a couple things the Dolphins are going to have to do if they want to win this game. One is Josh Jacobs. I've got a star by him. Limiting Josh Jacobs, don't allow him to beat you. If Josh Jacobs goes for over 100 yards, you're probably not going to win this game. So controlling the line of scrimmage, stopping the run, that is the biggest key for me. The second one is win the turnover battle. Since Tua Tagovailoa has come back, I believe he's got one turnover in the last 3 games that he's won, or since he's come back, I think he's only had one turnover, one interception. So winning the turnover battle is going to be huge. You don't want to go to Green Bay and give them extra opportunities by committing foolish turnovers or preventable turnovers. Obviously, if you throw the ball and it hits the receiver in the hands and the ball pops out of the hands, it goes up and it gets intercepted. Like, you can't blame that. It's going to go down as a quarterback interception. But you can't really blame that on the quarterback. Like, he hit the wide receiver in the hands. Where else do you want him to throw the ball? But so those type of turnovers you can live with. The ones you cannot live with are the ones where Tua goes out, he scrambles, and just throws the ball while scrambling, and it goes right to the defender. Like that, just throw the ball away. Throw the ball away, live to fight another day. Ones where, running backs are running with the ball or receivers running with the ball, and they don't protect the ball, and they try to get an extra 2 or 3 yards. Like, listen, take the contact, go down, go on to the next play. Like, protect the ball at all costs. And then the other thing I think they're going to have to do, and it's something I think they can do, is get pressure on Jordan Love. Like, make Jordan Love move around. He's a decent quarterback. He can move within the pocket, but don't let him sit back there and just throw darts and sniper shots to their wide receiver core, because they got a decent wide receiver core. You got Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Deltavian Wicks. Like, they've got a very decent wide receiver core. And then their tight end, who Miami can't stop tight end to save our lives. We just can't. Kraft, I forget his first name. I think it's Tucker Kraft. Don't let Jordan Reed sit back there and just pick you apart.
I think Miami's got to make Jordan Love beat them from the pocket, which, could be a good thing or a bad thing. Because when I've seen Jordan Love play, he's given 1 or 2 to the other team. He only threw 23 passes this past week against the 49ers. But Green Bay never felt threatened. I think.
Well, yeah, they had Brandon. They were playing Brandon Allen. They're definitely getting an upgrade in quarterback competition this week.
Well, yeah. And then you look at Josh Jacobs and went for over 100 yards. He's not going to run by him, but if Josh Jacobs goes 26 for 58, you've done your job. I don't know if Green Bay's got a number 1 receiver. By the way, no Romeo Doubs, but
I would say Jaden Reed is their number 1 receiver.
But Green Bay's so deep at the position, and then with Kraft.
Absolutely agree. They got a bunch of young, good wide receivers. They really, really do.
Yeah, and Matt LaFleur, really good coach. Beware of your special teams unit. Even though Jason Sanders having a great year, Green Bay might block one.
Let's not talk about Miami Dolphins and special teams. I've been wanting them to fire their special teams coach for the last 2 seasons. Like, if you look at the Miami Dolphins and how their special teams has performed, it's been absolutely atrocious. They are just absolutely terrible. And I would love to see them fire their special teams coach.
By the way, Kyle Shanahan's special teams is not all that great this year anyway.
Yeah, they're probably better than Miami, though.
Let me see if I can look it up. Special teams ranking. Oh, gosh. Miami's 23rd ranked special teams unit in the league.
Yep.
Green Bay, 3rd.
What did I tell you? Miami is horrible on special teams. Our special team, I forget his name. Who's our special teams coach? I forget who he is. He's terrible. Danny Crossman. That's who it is. That son of a Danny Crossman. He should have been fired 2 years ago. He's a holdover from the Brian Flores days. There's absolutely no reason this guy should be anywhere near the Miami Dolphins special teams. He is atrocious. Our special teams has been bad, real bad, for like 3 or 4 years now, and yet somehow this guy still has a job. It's just mind-boggling to me. He's got to have some inside information on Mike McDaniel or something like that, or they're friends, or second cousins once removed from the neighbor's uncle's cousin. I don't know, but that dude should not be anywhere on the Dolphins team coaching them at all.
I mean, but maybe it's something with the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay tree, where like these teams aren't great special teams wise. I mean, Green Bay's special teams wasn't that great and cost them a playoff game.
Yep.
And then look what happened. They blocked the field goal against the Bears.
The Bears. Did the Bears win in overtime this past week?
Minnesota did. And guess what the Vikings did? They blocked the field goal.
I mean, at what point do you start feeling bad for Bears fans? I mean, the way they've lost the last 3 games, a Hail Mary, a blocked field goal, overtime loss. Like, come on, man. That whole fan base should be on suicide watch, to be honest.
That's like me every Sunday. We've lost to Detroit 52-6.
No, what was funny? Okay, I say what was funny. I understand from a Jaguars perspective, it probably wasn't funny. If you're a fan of the Jaguars, this was not funny. I found it funny that the fact that up 42-6, Jared Goff is still out there throwing the ball down the field. Dan Campbell's like, no, we're not stopping. We are going to score points. If you don't want us to score points on you, stop us. Stop us, because we're not going to stop throwing the ball at you.
I don't care. If you're down 42-6, 49-6, I don't care at that point.
Yeah. Listen, as somebody who had Jared Goff in fantasy, and he was starting as my quarterback that week, I was thrilled. Like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Come on, Jared Goff. Give it to me. I want more. But, man, I thought it was funny.
I mean, if you're down 42-6, so what? I mean, the game's you just want to get on the plane home.
Yeah, you're not even trying at that point. It's just like, I just don't want to get hurt. Don't injure me. You can score. Don't injure me.
Well, think about Green Bay defensively. I mean, no Jair Alexander, which I think is a big help, but Green Bay
that is huge.
But Green Bay's defense has got all kinds of guys. I think the new defensive coordinator from Boston College made a difference. The Packers are making the switch to the 3-4 to the 4-3. Seemingly invigorated Green Bay. I don't know about you, but Xavier McKinney looks like a definite Pro Bowler this year. I mean, I think he intercepted, 8 more passes this past weekend?
Yep.
Oh, by the way, what team did he come from? The Giants.
He came from the Giants. Because every player who's left the Giants has gone on and prospered.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley probably who's probably the top 3 front runners for MVP right now? Saquon, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Oops.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think Jaden Daniels is in the MVP conversation?
No, not now. Not with how he's played the last couple of weeks.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's gonna have a couple of bad games, right? Like, that's just gonna happen. That's the natural ebbs and flow of the NFL season. Like, you're gonna have players who have bad games. Lamar Jackson hasn't had all great games this year. Josh Allen has not had all great games this year.
Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. The record is nice. The record is good. But Lamar Jackson has not had – it's like last year. Like, he hasn't had these just amazing games. Like, last year, I honestly think he was the worst MVP in the last decade. If you just go by the numbers, like his numbers last year were really not MVP caliber numbers.
Honestly,
He won it.
I'm in the minority. If I had an MVP vote and I don't, Josh Allen was my MVP and wasn't even close with what he did last year. I didn't care about the record. I mean, Josh Allen carried the Bills into the playoffs.
So you mentioned Lamar Jackson. He's got 3 games this year under 185 passing yards. In those games, he didn't have monster rushing yards either. Like he had one of them he ran for 45 yards. One of them he ran for 87 yards, which is great, but he had 14 rushes to do it. And then he had 8 rushes against the Chargers this past week with only 15 yards. I mean, he's had his bad games. That's why I asked about Jaden Daniels. He's had bad games this year. He has, no doubt about it. But he's had a lot more good games than he's had bad games. And it's just like that with every quarterback. I can do that for Josh Allen. I can do it for Jaden Daniels. I can do it for everybody. Jaden Daniels has had 2 games this year under 100. Actually, 1 game this year under 185 yards passing. Only 1. And he took their team is 7-5. It's not like they were expected to be as good as they were. Like everybody kind of expected the Ravens to be as good as they were. Everybody expected the Bills to be as good as they were. No, it's just I'm a big Jaden Daniels guy though. That is true. I am a big Jaden Daniels guy. Josh Allen's got 1, 2. He's got 2 games where he's thrown for under 140 yards on the season.
Didn't Jared Goff have a game with like 80-something yards and the Lions put up like 1,000,000 points?
I will look that up, but I believe you are correct.
Against Tennessee.
Yeah, they had a whole bunch of defensive scores and whatnot and running scores.
And then Jared Goff threw for 400 on my team.
Yeah, he threw 85. Against Tennessee, he only threw the ball 15 times. He was 12 of 15, 85 yards, but he had 3 passing touchdowns. Like those games where Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, like they didn't have 3 passing touchdowns. They each had 1. And Jared Goff had. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought he had a rushing touchdown in that game as well. I thought he had 4 total touchdowns. I was like, threw for 85 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. What more do you want from the guy? But he had 3. I guess you'll have to survive with his 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So obviously playing on Thanksgiving. Miami's not used to playing on Thanksgiving every year. Probably the most memorable Thanksgiving Day game was this past week in '93 against the Cowboys, and we all know what led up to the ending of that game.
I still believe the Dolphins organization sends Leon Lett a Thanksgiving Day card every year. Because for Leon Lett to touch the ball after a blocked field goal and then let Miami recover it, and then Miami goes on to kick a field goal and win the game, like that's insane. That is absolutely insane.
I think Ed Hockley made the right call. That he touched the ball, it's the other team's ball.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely the right call. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It was the right call.
Play. It's a funny play.
It's just it's a play where you just, as a coach, you just shake your head and be like, why? Leon, why? And was it Leon Lett who also recovered a fumble and was running with it? And I think it was against the Lions.
The Bills.
I'm not sure. It was the Bills. Yeah, they chased him down and he forced a fumble that ended up being a touchback right as he was crossing the goal line. Just listen, Leon Lett is a Hall of Fame caliber player. I believe he's actually in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame NFL lineman, like one of the best ever. But man, those 2 plays, they stick out really bad.
Maybe it was just, I don't know. Hey, at least he got 3 Super Bowls, and he ended up in the Hall of Shame twice. But
so let me ask you this: What would you rather be? Would you rather be a superstar player but never have won a Super Bowl, or be a contributing player? So you contribute to the game, you get in, you get your plays, but you're not a superstar, but you get 2 Super Bowl wins.
Hmm.
2 Super Bowls as an average player, or none, but you're a league MVP, you're a Pro Bowler, perennial Pro Bowler, one of the best at the position in the league, but you're never going to win a Super Bowl.
I think I'd rather be the superstar. I want people to know me. People don't know Trent Dilfer, but people sure know who Dan Marino is.
And I hate the fact that your first thought was Dan Marino, because that's not who I was describing, even though I was describing him.
I'm sure you were thinking Lamar or Josh Allen, right?
I mean, those are the current guys, yeah. Do I think they'll get a Super Bowl? Maybe. I don't know. But currently, yeah, those are 2 guys on those career paths that everybody knows who they are. Not Josh Allen; he's never been a league MVP. But Lamar Jackson, league MVP twice, perennial Pro Bowler, never won a Super Bowl. And if he never does, it's like, which career would you rather have? Like, do you want to be able to say I was a key contributor to a Super Bowl? Or do you want to say I was one of the best to ever play the game? Like, it's a conundrum. I think I agree with you though. I'd rather be the superstar.
Whose career, thinking, would you rather have, let me think, would you rather have Dan Marino's career when he set all kinds of records, or Jim Plunkett with the Super Bowl rings?
Oh. I'd rather be Marino.
Yeah.
I'd rather be Marino. I'm Googling the top players who have never won a Super Bowl. And of course, my heart breaks because I always start with Dan Marino.
Barry Sanders be on that list?
Yeah, Barry Sanders is on that list. Barry Sanders was number 2. Dan Marino, according to CBS, was number 1. Randy Moss, Bruce Smith, Anthony Munoz, Alan Page, Junior Seau, Tony Gonzalez, LaDainian Tomlinson, Larry Fitzgerald, Fran Tarkenton. Like, these guys are all legends. We know who all these guys are. J.J. Watt, like, Hall of Fame careers, no doubt about it. These guys have never won Super Bowls, which is a shame.
Where would T.O. be on that list?
T.O. 14 is Peterson, 15 is Simpson, 16 is Bruce Matthews, Steve Largent, Joe Thomas, Randall McGinn, Champ Bailey. T.O.'s not even on this list.
T.O.'s a better player than Steve Largent.
I agree, but he's not on the list. This is according to CBS Sports. I'm just going by the list. It's not my list. It's CBS's list. Yeah, they don't have T.O. on this list at all.
So what's one underlying key to the game tomorrow night if Miami's got a chance of winning in Lambeau?
Turnovers. I said it. They have to win the turnover battle. They cannot have Tua cannot go out and throw bad interceptions. He cannot go out and turn over the ball and give the Green Bay Packers extra possessions with the ball. We have to win the turnover battle, and we have to be able to run the ball. I think it's huge. Alec Ingold is back. Our fullback, he makes an absolute difference in the run game. I think you're going to see a lot more usage of Raheem Morris. He's the bigger of the back. I think Achan's going to get his, but I think you're going to see a lot of Raheem Mostert rather coming out of the backfield. I think he's the bigger back. He's still fast, but I think you're going to see a lot of him running the ball. And don't turn over, run the ball, control the clock. Those are the 3 things. If the Dolphins can do those 3 things, I think they have a really, really good chance of going to Green Bay and winning.
And maybe the short passing game is like a variation of the run. Just get a quick swing to Waddle, Hill, Devine H, and let them go up the field.
Well, I'm really glad that the Dolphins have started to use Jalen Waddle again, because for a while there, he had completely disappeared.
I'm like Jalen Waddle is in the witness protection program.
Yep. But it was nice to see him have a breakout last week. I would have loved to his breakout game have come this week, but I will take the breakout game last week.
Oh yeah, and maybe Tyreek Hill. I mean, who knows? I don't think Tyreek Hill ever be himself the rest of the year with that wrist injury. Maybe we get a Tyreek Hill throwback.
Listen, it would be nice to see a long. I would love to see a 40-yard play from Tyreek Hill this week,
and then Tyreek Hill will get a penalty for sure. If he scores a long touchdown, he's got some profit way in the end zone. He's got so much way. He'll sign a Tyreek Hill Dolphin jersey.
I got a where is it? Right here. Oh no, never mind. I had a friend of mine send me this. This is not my Tyreek Hill one. This is my Odell Beckham. I got an Odell Beckham's autographed Dolphins mini helmet, and I've got a Tyreek Hill one somewhere in this office that I'm in. That I've got to hang them on the wall. I've got to put some shelves back there and put all my my Dolphin stuff on the wall back there. This room has been a work in progress for way too long. But I would love to see Tyreek Hill get a 40-yard bomb. I want to see if we can get one 40-yard play from him, which I don't think is asking a whole lot given who it is and how talented he is. I think that will go a long way in helping the Dolphins win this game, because it'll make the defense have to play back a little bit, and then you can do, as you mentioned, the extension of the run game with these short passes. You can get Jonnu Smith underneath. You can get Jalen Waddle coming across the middle. Tyreek Hill can then come across the middle as well. Like there'll be opportunities there, but I think you're going to have to at least get one or two plays deep to put that defense on its heels.
Yeah, and by the way, because the Dolphins beat my Jags, I got a Miami Dolphin Gatorade towel. So
there you go. See, you're already coming over to the right side.
Hey, I mean, if the Dolphins win, at least one of our teams could be in the playoffs, because mine might be in the toilet bowl.
Listen, I am not jumping on the Dolphins or making the playoffs train yet. Our schedule is a decent schedule coming up, but I think we're going to have to. I think we can afford one loss the rest of the year,
and tomorrow's probably your toughest game,
and make it to the playoffs. I'm not sure if we lose tomorrow. I don't think we'll make the playoffs. We'd have to win out. I'm not sure the Dolphins will do that. We will do something stupid, and we will end up losing to the Jets, who are starting Tyrod Taylor instead of Aaron Rodgers. Is
that affirmative?
No. This is me putting my fortune teller hat on and seeing the future. I think at some point in the next couple of weeks, Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, I'm done with this. I'm hurt. Just put me on IR. I don't want to play for you guys. I don't want to play for this team anymore. I want out of New York. And then next year he'll go sign with the Minnesota Vikings.
He'll end up hosting Jeopardy again.
He might host Jeopardy again. He might start a presidential campaign. Who knows? But he'll be doing something other than playing football in New York. That I can guarantee. The Dolphins, if we lose tomorrow, I don't think tomorrow is the game that we can afford to lose. If we lose tomorrow, I'm absolutely convinced we won't make the playoffs. If we win tomorrow, I think we gave ourselves a one-game trip up somewhere along the way. But we still have a decent shot to make the playoffs. Even though we'll technically, by the statistics, we'll only have a 33% chance. I think we will have a much better path than if we lose. So I think tomorrow's game is extremely, extremely important.
And Green Bay would say, on the other hand, we need to win just to keep Minnesota and Detroit in the proverbial mirror.
Yep. And if the Dolphins, not that this makes any difference in the world, because it makes zero difference at all. If the Dolphins lose tomorrow, the Bills will clinch the AFC East.
Not that it matters, because we know
because they're gonna unless the Bills have a huge collapse. All of the Dolphins last year when we were 8-3, and all we needed was one extra win to clinch the division in the final 3 games, and we managed not to do that. The Bills are going to win the division again unless there's some monumental epic collapse. Josh Allen goes out and tears his Achilles. I don't wish that. I probably shouldn't have put that out there in the football universe. But unless something tragic like that happens, the Bills are going to again win the division. That's not going to be a problem. The Dolphins are really playing right now. If they make the playoffs, they're looking at playing in cold weather anyway. They're either going to be playing in Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, or Pittsburgh. Last time I checked, in December and January, those are some pretty cold places. So, I mean, you have to go out and prove you can win a game in the cold, in prime time, on the road, and it starts tomorrow night in Green Bay. You have to win that game.
Yeah. So thanks for hopping on, George. We wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and maybe you'll be eating your pumpkin pie with some Dolphins pie.
Hopefully, I'm eating some Green Bay pie.
Ooh,
I want to eat that Green Bay pie. I want to eat that Wisconsin cheese tomorrow. I don't want to eat the Dolphins. No, we're going to eat some Wisconsin cheese tomorrow.